Welcome everybody to, I think this is the first annual Mayoral Forum. I want to start off by thanking Commissioner Bovo for number one, being on time. Here in South Florida, we know how difficult that is. Second, for donating some of your time and giving back and talking to us about what your plans are in Miami-Dade County. As you know, us realtors, we're very passionate about our industry. We know that we move the market. We know the effect that we have in our industry, as well as our local community, and we really look forward to seeing what you have in store for us moving forward. Daniella, I don't have the bio on me. Can you kick off Bovo's bio real quick for us?
Actually, I don't have it up in front of me, so what I'm going to do is post the bios in the chat.
I could do it.
Oh, that works too, Commissioner.
So you know what? Give us a 2-minute intro on you, Commissioner.
Yeah. Thanks, Jorge, and I appreciate the realtors doing this. This is important. This election, quite honestly, is probably one of the most important elections locally we've had in a long time. I think the direction of where our county goes is at play. I've had 20 years of experience in public service. I was the council member in the city of Hialeah, served the Florida legislature for a couple of years, and then came back to local government, where I really feel where my roots are. In serving the local population as a county commissioner. Served 4 years, 2 different stints as the chair of the transportation committee, served as a finance chair, and I've also chaired the board of county commission. And I think it gives me some unique insight on the ways government operates and works. And then more importantly about me, I was raised in South Florida, been here all my life, basically came at the age of 6. From New York, born in Queens, and I get the nuances about our community and the growing pains that we've had. My parents had a small business. I was in that small business for a long time. I gained a big appreciation on how people work hard to have their slice of the pie. And I think as local government is concerned, we need to defend that, and we need to the way we do our policies needs to augment people's property values, quality of life, and I think at the core, the direction of our county is going to be what is going to determine the outcome of this election.
Let me ask you a quick question. Why are you running for Miami-Dade Mayor, and what is your vision and plan?
George, when I announced in October my candidacy for mayor, I had a very simple statement. I felt that county government had been moving away from what's its core mission. We were built in order to provide service for the residents of Miami-Dade County. So whether that was police, fire, water, sewer, clean parks, street repair, that was the reason that we created local government. It was an engagement to help us with our quality of life. And I felt that our county had been moving further and further from it. In fact, I felt our county was going in the direction of what we've seen in many major cities, where the local government role was now being played as a global government, trying to solve all the social problems in the community. And I think it's very ill-equipped. So therefore, I could not predict COVID-19. I could not predict the racial strife that's going on in our community, demonstrations by those that want to really alter the way of life that we've known in this country. I couldn't predict those things, but I will tell you, my vision is very clear. We got to get our economy back up and running. We need to get businesses back up and running, and we need to do it in a way where we collaborate with them, where they could educate us. How do they keep their employees and their clients safe, and then us hold them accountable so that we can start opening our economy. We need to get tourists back to South Florida, and that's going to take some time. But please understand that I've got residents that I represent today that have been out of work for 7 months. And this is unsustainable. Waiting on the federal government to do things, I don't think long-term is sustainable. Not only does it also indebt our children and grandchildren. So my vision is to get our economy open, work with the school system to get our kids back to school as quickly as possible. I think it's a travesty what's going on. And then we need to address certain issues in our community that I know we'll get into today, which is transportation, which is housing, environmental issues. And I think they're all interrelated to each other as far as quality of life. And I think that's kind of like the mission that the next mayor is going to have, not to mention that he's also going to be dealing with a lot of issues regarding to the budget, because we're going to see the tail end of COVID and how it's going to affect property values.
Commissioner Bovo, sticking with that theme of COVID, those that are most affected now are definitely those suffering from home affordability issues. As realtors, home affordability is a great concern. We have a few questions on this. Number one, property insurance costs are rising. Insurance companies are leaving South Florida. Those that are staying are increasing their annual premiums up to 50% and are requiring additional conditions to insure. As mayor, will you commit to working with us and the state to identify ways to provide relief?
No, we have to be perfectly honest with you. I'm one of those that got hit with an increase and have to start shopping around to figure out how do you cover insurance. And I think there's a couple of things that we could do as far as education also. Insurance fraud is a big problem in our community, and we got to face it. And we need to educate our community that when they turn that $1,000 leak into a $100,000 leak, that it's a ripple effect that we're all going to pay the cost for it. So I would tell you, insurance fraud is something that we need to work diligently with. And I think we need to go to Tallahassee united, not just the industry that goes up to, but all of us. We need to go up and educate and work. And I could tell you, in Tallahassee, obviously they always deal with the issue of citizen. But if we don't find a path to how to tamper down on the insurance premiums in our community, it won't matter what you do with taxes. The insurance is going to put people out of their homes. And that's something that obviously we need to be very strong. So I think the bully pulpit of the mayor's office can be a strong advocate in this space to make sure that we educate people on insurance fraud and how to make sure that we don't, we kind of put a halt to the insurance increases. We can't do anything about hurricanes. We can only pray, light a lot of candles that we get avoided of the storms. But on the other things, we can work together and should work together on.
All right. My next question is near and dear to a lot of us landlords and tenants, but this pandemic has presented a unique change for landlords and tenants. What are your views on the eviction moratoria, and what is your feelings about the talk of rent control?
Well, let me speak to the easy one first. I'm not down with rent control. I don't think it's really worked in spaces that it has been tried. I've seen instances in places like New York and San Francisco. It doesn't really work, and what it does, it kind of leads to slum and blight. Any owner of a business that doesn't feel the need to invest in his business, you're going to see the ripple effects of that. This is concerning. Now, we've been able to, with federal money, CARES money, to kind of act as a stopgap to help maybe some of those renters. But this is a ripple effect issue that is going to take a lot of moving parts. As you well know, the renters paying the landlord, the landlord's paying a mortgage, the bank are paying shareholders. This is going to take, and this is not unique to South Florida, I assume, with the COVID being a nationwide pandemic. This is going to take federal, state, and local governments all working comprehensively on this. I mean, government, if we take into consideration what government has done, George, it's hit the pause button on our lives for about, 7 months now, since we started back in February, late February. We've hit the pause button. And we need to understand that we're going to have to be there to help. Now, this goes against my DNA of government kind of intruding into the private space. But I will tell you, we need to find ways and collaborate where, this hurt is going to be felt, across the board, not just the tenant, not just the landlord, but the mortgage holder. And we're going to have to be there to help them. And then be mindful of those that are trying to game the system. We're not going to reward those folks, okay? Those that were in the eviction process back in January and have been trying to figure out and gaming the system, that's a little different. But if you've been affected directly, we need to be able to help. We just need to do it in the right way. One other thing to be careful with, and keep your eye on this. We've established a rent relief program with that CARES money. And I want to be clear, I do not want that to become a permanent program, because then we start taking property taxes to fund a rent relief program that I don't think is a good use of our county dollars.
Commissioner, my favorite line was the one you said at the beginning. I'm not down with rent control. I like that.
All
My
right.
second, my next question for you is, what do you propose to make housing more attainable, more affordable for the working class? I know that's been a problem that we've had for a very long time. Do you have a different approach? What are your ideas when it comes to that moving forward?
Yeah, so the approaches that we've had up to this point have always been kind of forcing the developer to do something that goes against their DNA and never works. So what I propose to do is the following. I think first and foremost, we look at how much land the county owns and how do we put that land into play? How do we make it available for developers with certain caveats? If you're going to build on my land, I'm going to ask you to do certain things. I'll give you some density as a lure. In fact, I'll also work, and I'm open to working on cutting red tape, bureaucracy, even to the point of maybe bringing some utilities to the property. All this has a dollar value for the developer. I'm willing to do those things in exchange on a piece of property that they're developing, that we get some units for workforce component, that police, that nurse, that teacher, make sure that they could afford the unit. And I think that's something that we could do in collaboration. They're going to get something, they'll get some density that helps them at their end. And at the same time, we get something, which is where we want to address the critical issues. It can't be done effectively, though, if you don't merge transportation. And I can tell you over the last 6 years, even while I was the chairman, we have worked extensively on the issues of how do we create funding mechanisms long-term for transportation that go beyond the half penny, which for another day is something that I think woefully underperformed and was overpromised. But if we look at other ways of funding transportation, if we look at ways of creating transportation TODs all along the lines of our SMART plan program, I think we could create what I would call a mini Dayland in different spots of Miami-Dade County and make work, play, live scenarios for those that live in those areas. That person may not need a car. And I know what I just said, somebody's head just popped in Westchester, but you could live in certain areas of Miami-Dade County today, Brickell, Dayland, and you could literally live there without a car. And I think that's something that we could maybe expose for other parts of our county, give people options that right now they don't have. And I think that's something that needs to happen kind of quick.
Commissioner Bovo, I think you're on the right track when you speak about people not using their cars as often. When we look at some of our trends from a real estate perspective, we see that the use of cars less, and we're even looking at ways to explore building out garages in the future. But we're not there yet, but I think you're on the right side of that. Another question I got for you is this. Us realtors, we are people of the community. We like to get involved. We're like police officers, firemen, and even politicians. It's no secret that 2020 has been a unique year. What do you propose to bring our county together to grow into more of an inclusive society?
Well, in an ironic kind of way, George, COVID has been a big teacher also, okay? We are a diverse county, make no mistake about it. And I've been from Homestead to Aventura, Hialeah, points in between, helping, serving food, setting up testing sites. We're diverse, man, but we're not divided, okay? There's a common DNA of people everywhere in Miami-Dade County. They just want opportunity, a level playing field, a fair chance. And that's not unreasonable. Haitian Americans want it, African Americans ask for it, Cuban Americans expect it, Colombians, Nicaraguans, name the group here in South Florida. That's all I want. Give me a fair shot. Don't tilt the system against me. And I would tell you that I'm okay with that. I want that. I want us to have a level playing field as far as being mayor. So there's a couple of things I would tell you I would do quickly. One is the moment I'm elected, I'm going to bring all the mayors of the county and administrators so that we could talk on how do we recover quickly? How do we get all on the same page? Can't have the county do a curfew where Hialeah doesn't want to enforce it or Aventura doesn't think it's necessary. Let's work together to come up with a comprehensive plan that we're all on the same page, opening businesses, doing it in the right way. I think that same approach could happen with all the diverse groups in our community. I'd like to do a diverse summit, a diversity summit, where we could bring different folks from different walks of life here in South Florida. Let us all get together in a room and let's talk about what does the next 20 years look like. And I'm telling you, I think you're going to find there's always going to be an outlier. but for the most part, people want the same thing. And if we could work on the things that we have in common, then we could address those things that separate us. And again, being a guy who grew up here in South Florida, I've seen the growing pains, I've seen the webs and flow. Nothing speaks more of South Florida, how we come together, whether it's a sporting event that we all get behind, or a pandemic, a catastrophe after a hurricane. I see how we come together. That speaks a lot about our community. I want to highlight that. I want to dive into that and leave all the negative stuff that divide us, which is much less than what I just discussed. Leave that to the side. Let's work on the things that puts us together.
Speaking about sports and how sports brings us together, do you have any plans for the Miami Dolphins? I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
Well, FSU and Miami's this weekend too. These things just pop up.
If I could answer that, I'd like them to go back first to their old logo. I can't stand the new logo. If they could do that first, then we could start talking.
All right. So my next question is, great neighborhoods are places where people want to live. What ideas do you have to make neighborhoods safer and create opportunities to participate in a community life?
Well, the first thing you do is you invest in security. Okay. And that's been to the core of the issues that I've talked about in this campaign since the very beginning. If you don't have safe, secure streets, you don't have economic development, you don't have opportunity, you don't have jobs. And to me, again, could be layered. Name your neighborhood. If you create a safe environment, you start bringing quality to that neighborhood, you bring jobs, you bring peace and tranquility. And I think that has to happen. Now, I know there's a couple of other outliers to that we need to take into consideration. We have a problem with our sewer system that is being addressed, but needs to be continually addressed. You can't put the pause button on that. You got to make sure you're investing the money necessary so that we fix, leaky pipes and what have you. Got to address a septic tank issue, which is going to be a big lift, a big lift. And we're going to need Tallahassee to help us. I supported some legislation that Representative Avila and that Senator Diaz had been pushing with regards to maybe using some tourist dollars to help us with our infrastructure. Makes sense to me, pal. I'll tell you something. People come, visit our community, they flush our toilets, they use our roads. I think it's pretty neat that they maybe contribute a little bit of money to that. Although I understand we're going to have to probably do a lot of South Dade or Miami-Dade promotion for tourism to come back. But these are things that I think that we need to put in play that could help us with our property values, help us with, developing neighborhoods that are prosperous. But it starts with safety and security. I'm proud to have the PBA and the FOP endorsed and supporting my campaign all in, because what we don't want is we don't want to be another Portland, and we don't want to be another San Francisco or Chicago, or name your radically run city. That we don't want.
No. My next question is one that I'm sure you probably answered before in several other debates, but it's about transit. Talk about the county SMART plan and how would you improve the transit effectiveness north, south, west, and areas of the county?
Well, Georgia, if we take a couple of assumptions and take this as gospel, we've built our community never thinking of transit, okay? And that's just a reality. We built car-centric. That's why you have shopping centers with huge amount of surface parking. That's why some of the construction of buildings are costly, because you need to dedicate 3 or 4 floors to parking. We've accommodated the car. I would tell you, though, that while that's our reality today, I don't think that has to be our reality in the future. The SMART plan can be different things to different folks in different parts of the county. If we look down south, that SMART plan with the BRT that doesn't stop at any intersection, with stations that look like train stations, with platform boarding and development around that, could really change the dynamics for folks in South Dade. You could get from Florida City to Dayland in about 20 to 25 minutes on that BRT line, where it doesn't stop at any intersections. And that's not even a rapid system. So imagine the rapid system might be able to get you in there easier. Those things combined, the development and the transit on the south, could lead us to rail in the future, because we need that density in the future. When you look at the Northeast corridor, building out the station at Aventura, which my opponent criticized and voted against it, has now energized that entire corridor. We already have, markers going out for North Miami Beach, North Miami, and the city of Miami to add stations on that station, that corridor that's the Bright Line corridor, for lack of a better term. But I don't know if you know or not, soon Metro or Tri-Rail is going to be going into downtown Miami and becomes a player now on that Northeast corridor. So there's a lot of things going on. Some of it could be done with public-private partnerships. Others, we're going to have to probably go and lean on the federal government. These studies take a long time. All these approvals take a long time. We got to get to the stadium. It makes sense, and just makes sense if we want to bring marquee events to that stadium. And then ultimately, the biggest travesty of all that we got to address is how do we get folks on some sort of transit system going east-west? Not to have a reliable transit system that goes into or abuts Doral with all the factories there, all the warehouses, the economic engine of our county, west of the airport is, to me, is a problem. A lot of work has been done. A lot more work needs to be done, but you need to do it building blocks so people see the seriousness. And I think the density will bring more dollars, more riders, better options in the future.
Speaking about building blocks, what are your thoughts on streamlining the permit process to eliminate delays, inefficiencies, and costs that small business owners time and money?
Yeah, so I alluded to a little bit earlier. I will tell you this. I think as a COVID recovery plan, one of the things I would tell you I do is I think we should suspend, and I'll work with a future commission and maybe even cities to suspend some of the permitting process, red tapes, nothing life safety, but to help small businesses get open quicker. I've told you that I'd like to work with the businesses that are currently struggling so that they could not have to deal with all these rules and regulations that we're imposing on them. But yeah, look, I think technology allows us to be able to cut red tape. I think technology allows us to expedite things. I don't understand why somebody to open a business could literally have to wait months in order to open their doors, or quite frankly, that's all money. And if the bureaucratic of the government understands that time is money and that somebody is scratching hard to be able to open up their business, then we could help them. And I tell you, that's where growing up in a small business helps me, because I saw it's a 7-day-a-week operation. Nobody that has a small business takes a day off. Their head is continuously trying to figure out things that they need to do to improve their business. I understand it. I understand it real well, and I want to help those.
Thank you. My next question is linked to economic expansion. What are your plans to incentivize out-of-state corporations to move to central, rural, or less dense populated areas, thereby spending the economic growth, promoting new housing, retail development, and tourist attraction to these rural areas with biking and walkability in mind?
All right, so that's a lot to unpack there, but I will tell you, look, we need to diversify our economy, right? If anything, we understand, we've learned intimately now that no beaches, no healthy beaches, no bay that's sick helps us, right? Those things have to be taken care of. So you got to be mindful of the treasure that water is to us: beach, bay, Everglades. Those things have to be taken care of. As a conservative, I realize not only the natural wonders that we need to pass on to future generations, we're custodians of that, but do it in a way that doesn't break our back today, but leads us to a profitability in the future. And I think that's critical. But we need to diversify our economy. We missed out on the Amazon HQ2 possibility because we didn't meet the standards of transportation. We've got outstanding education institutions here. We got a great diverse community, multilingual. We should be, and we are in many regards, the capital of the Americas. But if we could solve that nut of making sure that we could diversify our economy. You're torturing me drinking coffee. I want you to know that, okay? You're torturing me with that. But anyways, I think the more we diversify our opportunities, bring in those companies, that's going to be better for us. So I would tell you, I think part of the job as mayor is to augment what the Beacon Council does and be aggressive and get out there and talk to. And I think there's some right places that we could talk to that might be willing, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, all these places that are being, just strangling the property tax owner. I think there might be an avenue there to help them lure into South Florida. I think we got a lot of assets, and I think the mayor needs to step up in that regard.
Thank you. My next question is about the urban development line and protecting and restoring Florida's unique habitat, the Everglades, while providing more of a housing stock to reduce the stability of housing costs is a careful balancing act. What is your position when it comes to the urban development line?
Look, I'm not in favor of moving the urban development boundary at this point, and I think there's nothing on the horizon, I think, that would speak to that issue of opening it up. It does present a dilemma for us because in our zoning meetings, quite often when somebody comes with a project and wants to develop and go up, they get a lot of pushback from residents. And there's one thing that we've learned, I think, in the housing market is that if you don't have enough supply, well, then your price point is going to go up. You know, we need to be, I think, smarter in the way that we develop, allow for more development, and that supply and demand criteria then will help us as far as dipping, you know, the price of the price point of purchase. We can't entertain conversations of moratorium. We can't throw roadblocks every time somebody wants to do a project. On the contrary, you know, obviously we need to do it in a way that doesn't upset the neighborhood. They need to be in ways that augment the neighborhoods that they're coming into. But understand, if we do not have more supply in housing, we're going to run into a problem consistently as far as affordability. And that seems to be something that we're now paying the price for.
My last question, and if you can answer it and give me your closing statement, is Biscayne's gotten a lot of attention lately. What do you propose to protect Biscayne Bay and other waterways and lakes from further degradation?
Yeah, well, we've talked a little bit about our, you know, septic tanks and water and sewer and how we have to attend those issues. We can't ignore them, and we're going to need to have some sort of state play and intervention in that in order to do it the right way. You know, I have been in communication with the governor's office with the express purpose of trying to figure out ways how they could play, how they could help us, understanding the nature of the bay and the importance. All that real estate along that bay that has just popped up and is going upward is something that we need to understand. It is an economic engine. And if you protect it, it'll keep giving, but a dead bay will not be that kind of economic engine. So I think that's something that's extremely important. You can't ignore it, can't bury your head in the sand on this issue. This is the infrastructure stuff that county government was built to do, not social programs. That's where we run into a problem. When you take our budget and you stretch it, now you're doing things that you didn't expect your county government to do. And then you've got this problem that you have where you're going to cut the budget. Where do you cut? You always have to look at police, fire, which is crazy talk as far as I'm concerned. And look, I'll get to the closing. I see the time, and I know that Commissioner Cava will be next. As I said earlier, we're in a crossroad on this election. Our county now gets to a point where it really needs to decide what direction it's going to go in. In January of this year, we were at unprecedented unemployment rates. The economy was humming. And then COVID hit. And the next mayor needs to be able to address these issues in an aggressive fashion, get us open as quickly as possible, get us back on track as quickly as possible. And I know that there's a circus coming to town with the top of the ticket in the presidential election. I get it. But I would tell you that the local government was provide you the most intimate service that you're going to need. It's the fire, it's the police, it's water and sewer, your parks. That's what local government does for you. If you don't like any one of the candidates that are running above ticket, don't vote for them, but pay attention to what's going on locally, because the impact of what we do here, you'll feel it for the next 20 years. And with that, guys, I appreciate it. And thank you for the time. Okay. Said sorry with all that was going on that we couldn't do this as a debate forum, but
It's okay. Thank you, Commissioner Bovo. We
tension.
really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
you. All right. Good to see you guys. Be safe. Okay.
Will do.
All right. That was pretty interesting. Great questions. Do we have Commissioner Cava there? She's loading up.
Commissioner Cava's here. And also I have Amir Karanji on the line real quick with The Real Deal. He's our media partner on this. I was supposed to introduce his bio, but I went ahead and posted it in the chat in the interest of time. Amir, we had to rearrange the schedule, so I apologize for pushing you back on that.
No worries. No worries.
Accommodate the commissioners. Just real quick, the only thing I will tell you is that when I found out Linda sent me the information and started researching. You really have an interesting life, great stories. And I would encourage our members on this Zoom call to do the same thing. So
Thank
really
you so
interesting
much.
stuff out there. Go ahead.
Well, you know, Commissioner Bovo had an opportunity to introduce himself. So I think, you know, Ms. Levine Cava should be able to do the same. But I do want to point out, I know the format changed slightly, but I do want to point out some things, you know, especially for this election. I want to point out that the Miami Association of Realtors is a very powerful group. You're the largest in the country. You not only strong in voting power, but also strong in financial power. Real estate taxes contribute more to your state and city coffers than any other industry. That's real power. And right now, selecting the right people to your local government is as important or more important, I believe. I'm in New York, so for me, it's extremely important than who we put in the White House. And I think this goes beyond parties. Being involved has never been more important. Voting has never been more important. Donating to the candidate you support has never been more important. Listening to the topics and questioning the candidates has never been more important. You have to get involved. We're used to politicians pandering for our votes, but picking true leaders and those who don't just want to stay in office, right? But those who really want to make a real change happen in your city, in your counties, in your state. I think that's the key thing we need to look at. Prior to 2016, most of us based our votes on parties. Today, parties are less important than ever before. Picking the right candidate who's going to do right by you and your organization and your business and your city is what should really matter. And that's where you guys need to put your focus. And I also want a big shout out to the MAR for putting together something like this and having the opportunity to question these folks before they go into their positions or get elected for these positions. So really kudos to you guys for being able to put something like this together. It would have been ideal as a debate format, but I think you know, George has been asking some great questions that were on top of my mind. So I was happy to hear him ask those questions and you know, and get the answers that I think are important for voters to know. And with that, I send it back to George. He's been doing a great job moderating this thing. So, you know, kudos to you guys again for putting this together. And again, really make sure that you question your candidates and you really, you know, get out there and vote, and you also donate to the candidates. I mean, donating to candidates was something that was never, you know, part of my, you know, it wasn't something that I usually did, you know, and now I feel like it's more important than ever to get out there and to really support the people that you think are going to do right by you. Thank you very much.
Amir, first and foremost, thank you for your partnership with us today. And more importantly, thank you for your wise words. We're going to take that to heart, and you were definitely on point with that message. With that being said, Commissioner Cava, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. Another beautiful day in paradise.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. To get started, because I know we're on in a time crunch, first, give me a quick little introduction about yourself, and then if you can end it with, why are you running for mayor of Miami-Dade County?
Well, very good. So I am a huge Miami-Dade County champion. I have been pushing for quality of life issues for the 40 years that I've lived here. And in the last 6, I've served as county commissioner. But before that, I worked legal services of Greater Miami. I ran the Guardian Ad Litem program. I started a nonprofit called Catalyst Miami. I ran the foster care system. I've worked in really every corner of this county, and I am just a huge fan. So as county commissioner, I was proud to be able to champion a few really critical causes, certainly transit, our environment, focusing on issues of protecting our water, climate change, sea level rise, dealing with affordability issues, housing, of course, dealing with how to build opportunity for people throughout Miami-Dade County, which is really my history, my longest history. But I have become known as the water warrior. And I'm also a huge supporter of small business, which is the backbone of our economy. So I created an incubator in my district, a small business academy, a nonprofit academy, because that is also a critical part of our economic landscape. And I have served proudly as a trustee level member of the Greater Miami Chamber for over 20 years. And I've been the Board of County Commission liaison to the Beacon Council and the Greater Miami Chamber. As well, we've received an Economic Development Administration grant for South Dade for a program that I launched together with Commissioner Moss, South Dade More to Explore. And so I am ready to step up to be county mayor to make sure that we continue to thrive even in a pandemic and post-pandemic world. So I've been dealing with all of the challenges that we face here very vigorously and enthusiastically. And truly, every crisis brings opportunity. So I believe that this pandemic has brought out some of the best in us, our resilience, our creativity, our adaptation as usual. And by the way, compared to other places, we're not doing so bad. And I know people are still flocking here. So real estate for now is getting a big bump. So as mayor, I know that we have to take care of our public health and we need to recover economically. And I am ready to step up to support the tourism industry in a big, big way, and have pledged my support to the Hotel Association and the Restaurant Association, hospitality generally. We have to rebrand and make sure that the public knows that we're open and safe for business. And then we have to make good on that promise. We have to have an adequate public health system, and I'll be appointing a chief medical officer to oversee our response and make sure that we are continuing to take the precautions we need to take and monitoring very, very carefully so that we don't do like we've done before and open too early and then have to close back down. So I'm running for the future. I'm a person who's known for my honesty, my integrity, my transparency. I'm not a career politician. I am only doing this because I care so very, very much, and I know that I can make a difference. And I have huge momentum, huge support countywide. In fact, we're calling it the biggest movement in Miami-Dade County history. It is really quite exciting. We have hundreds and hundreds of volunteers and thousands of donors. And I'm excited and ready to step up on the 29th floor to be the first woman mayor and break that glass ceiling.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for taking the time and spending it with us. My first couple questions are going to revolve around home affordability. My first question has to do with property insurance and the cost and how they're rising. Insurance companies are leaving South Florida. Those that are staying are increasing their premiums are up 50% and requiring additional conditions to insure. As mayor, will you commit to working with us and the state to identify ways to provide relief?
Yes, thank you so much. Of course, we must. I mean, obviously, we know that this is a place that's very unaffordable to so many. In fact, in many ways, we are considered already the least affordable place because our incomes are low relative to our costs, particularly our housing costs. So we have to really, wrestle that to the ground. We have to work on all kinds of affordability strategies. I'm sure that's another question. But as far as insurance goes, for example, Cutler Bay, I believe, was the first in the county to do the necessary planning to get reductions in insurance costs based on their resilience planning. And I have talked to some in our county what we can do. They took certain steps that then proved to insurers that they were going to be reducing risk. So that's what I think we need to do also. And then as far as working with you, you bet. My middle name is Collaboration. You are the experts in this. You have to inform the government opinion makers or the decision makers. You're the opinion leaders, we're the decision makers, and we have to work together to solve this problem. Also for flood insurance, which I know is a huge piece of it as well. And we know that that's federally insured system is kind of in, facing collapse. So we have to work together to come up with a solution that will allow us to continue to have the benefit of federal support. And again, we have to show that we're doing our part to be strong in building out the infrastructure that's needed and taking the steps to reduce our carbon footprint and all of that to show that we're ready to assume responsibility here as well.
Okay, my next question is, what do you propose to make housing more attainable, affordable for the working class? That's a big issue we have right now in South Florida.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to commend you for your innovation. And Danielle knows very well that I was a strong, strong proponent of your demonstration project in South Miami. And by the way, my opponent voted against it, just saying. So I was very excited about container homes as a possibility. I still am. I'd like to see how we can roll it out more efficiently. I think you were saddled with a lot of extra bureaucracy and expenses that really made it difficult. But I think that is really a very, very viable. I've seen lots of models how to do that. And basically we have to cut through the red tape. We have to be innovative. So we do have county property. You know, we've all talked about that. We have a great inventory and other government properties as well. Those could be deployed massively. You know, not just in a sort of, we don't want retail, we want wholesale to move these units forward. And I'm actually hopeful that a new commission will not be so narrow-minded as to only focus on individual projects in small lots and really look at the possibility to do something with bigger production. We need about 100,000 units is what I've been told. And of course, I'm a huge supporter of all of the solutions, and I chaired the CASA, which I don't remember exactly what it stood for, CAHSA. I chaired one of the committees of that back in the day and helped put on a county conference, and I had a special housing within reach task force at Catalyst, my nonprofit. So I've been working on these issues for many years. But as well, we're doing an inventory right now of county properties because of the number of people working virtually. Can we consolidate county office buildings? Can that free up some additional county property? I'm very keen to do that. And again, if, you know, land being the highest cost factor in affordability, this could create potentially a huge benefit. We know the school system also has a huge amount of property, so we need to collaborate to see what they can do. We also need to cut red tape. Even though they're supposed to be streamlined processes, we know they're not so streamlined. There are certain barriers that get in the way. I've talked to a number of developers about them. I'm going to go in there with efficiency experts that I have ready to go on day one to analyze those processes and make sure. Also, there's a permitting review that is coming out soon. Lourdes Gomez told me some of the highlights. It's very exciting. And I've got a few other ideas about how to cut the red tape. Also construction costs like the container homes, but there's form building that is also very promising. In my district, we have a number of those projects. I think that's wonderful. And of course, higher density in certain places like along the transit corridors. And we also have to preserve our existing affordable housing. So we need to use some of our subsidy money, not just for new purchase, but to maintain affordability. And we do have a new $50 million program that was just approved to get some of that surtax money off the shelf and put it into circulation. And there was one other big idea I was going to mention. But anyway, got a lot of good ideas and hopefully to work with you as well to accomplish these things.
All right, Commissioner Cava, my next question is this. The pandemic has presented unique changes for landlords and tenants. What are your views on eviction moratoria and the talks of rent control?
Well, you know, I did live in New York City where they had it. I don't think it's for us. Okay, so I'm not supporting rent control. I don't think that's the solution. I think we have to double down on the kinds of programs that we've already discussed. And we do have to provide more subsidy. We have to get those Sadowski Act funds. We have to utilize all of our surtax money. And we are obviously using CARES Act dollars now to great advantage with rent assistance and mortgage assistance. And we need to press the Senate to do more. This is not just a local problem, it's a national problem. And we're going to need more help, at least in the midterm, to stabilize. So, you know, I'm very worried about this because there's, as I've heard, at least 2,600 evictions in the pipeline in Miami-Dade County, ready to roll out as soon as the moratorium is lifted. You know, it's not good for anybody. And I don't actually know what's in the mortgage foreclosure pipeline. So I don't know if any of you know about that. But clearly, you know, we could have another mortgage foreclosure crisis. So this is totally destabilizing for our entire economy. And we also have to talk to our financial institutions because obviously, for the mortgages, the money is paid to the banks. So how can we get the banks to partner with us to come up with some solutions that will be a win-win-win? So I'm actually very excited to do that, to convene the financial sector, to start talking. I think if we all sit down together and we all say, what can we do collectively to stabilize this market, that will do well. And we also do have to use these hotels that for the time being are somewhat empty as a stopgap measure for the increasing number of homeless that we can anticipate.
Interesting. My next question is about community, and it's no secret that 2020 has been a unique year. What do you propose to bring the community together and to grow into a more inclusive society?
Well, I don't know if you know me, but that's kind of the story of my life. So I'm really excited about different ways that we can continue to build inclusive society. Again, collaboration, my middle name. Let's start with the cities, 34 cities. We know how upset they were about this COVID money fight. But really, that's because there were not strong relations between the cities and the county before that. You don't wait for a crisis to talk, and you don't start spending money when you're supposed to share it. So these are not ways to build relationships. And I, for example, in South Dade, in my district, not only my district, I've actually brought in District 9 and District 7 mayors to a mayor's coalition that has been meeting for 6 years to work together, because we're all part of the corridor in South Dade. And we communicate regularly, we solve problems together. That's the way I will be as mayor. I really respect and admire the leadership of these 34 cities. They're doing things close to the people. They're building back trust in government. I'm all about trust in government. And so we need to really be partners and not adversaries, and not just regulate these cities. We need to really be partners with them. And our role as a county is to be more regional. We need to help people feel that they are heard. We need to have participatory processes. We need to train people on decision-making so that when they do show up at budget hearings, they have good background information. And I've been doing that as commissioner. And also the virtual participation is really groundbreaking. And I intend to do everything possible to maintain that, because it creates more opportunities. Even when we can get together physically, we still should be able to have multiple modes of participation. I'm also going to have an office of accountability that will report regularly, and an office of inclusion that will make sure that we are genuinely creating opportunities, especially for disinvested communities. And I'm really planning some dramatic community conversations and dialogues and all that, because that's what I love to do. That's my background.
That's awesome. My next question is, great neighborhoods are places where people want to live. What ideas do you have to make neighborhoods safer and create opportunities to participate in a community life?
Yeah. So on the campaign trail, I've been visiting so many neighborhoods, and they each have their own flavors. And it's really exciting, because when there is a robust neighborhood, people are engaged with that, because that adds identity and livability and value. And I'd like to see us spend money, not only supporting small businesses, but really creating neighborhood life. And I also think that this is a tourist attraction. People want to come, they want to see Little Haiti, they want to see Little Havana, they want to know, where are the Dominicans, they want to know, where are the Bahamians, they want to know what happened in our riots and how we've recovered. All of these things are fodder, interesting fodder for experiences, right? People don't want the cookie cutter, they want experiences. And that's true not just for out-of-town visitors, but it's for our locals. For example, my district includes Redland. So, we came up with this South Dade More to Explore, to say, hey, we've got like a lot of great things going on in South Dade. Make it a little staycation. And we've supported agritourism and ecotourism to stimulate that as a destination, wedding destination. So, I've been working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. They've been very supportive of the campaign for South Dade, but we should be promoting all our neighborhoods. I'd like to spend money on local tourism in this way. Get our visitors to, kind of do package deals, check out some neighborhoods. When I've been part of a lot of because I'm in the nonprofit sector in my past, all kinds of national conferences, the philanthropists, the social change agents, they do these tours but we never do them for local people. So that's part of it. But again, local businesses. How do we really create, like Kendall has an initiative. I was in Miami Shores the other day. They, have a local initiative. I mean, really all these neighborhoods are, and you don't have to be a city, right? You could be a neighborhood. So I'm very excited to lift up and help neighborhoods discover themselves, and then actually have some dollars to put their ambitious plans into effect.
Let me tell you, I love that. Miami, as we become a world city, we have a story to tell. And that story is definitely in the mix of the cultures and how we come together and how we create this vibrant city. So I think that's a phenomenal idea. My next question is one I'm sure you've gotten 1,000 times already, and it's about transit. And there's talk about the county smart plan. How would you improve the transit's effectiveness north, south, and the west areas of the county?
Well, we do have the SMART plan, which is a pretty smart plan. And we have moved forward on, well, one is already done. That's the bus lane on 836 and it really has improved commute time. Once the traffic is fully back, everybody can appreciate it again, from the Dolphin Mall Park and Ride to downtown. We are going to have the bus rapid transit going down the transitway down US 1. That's going to be good. It's going to be good. Not as good as the train, but it's going to be very good. And we've already added express buses at my initiative, which have reduced traffic time from Cutler Bay to Dadeland significantly. It's, I think, like an 18-minute ride now. And with the synchronized traffic lights, which is a key component of it, which, by the way, almost died again, but we pulled it up from the, out of the ashes and made sure that it went forward. That is really critical. The North Corridor is accepting bids. The Northeast Corridor, we're going to get the proposal at the October 6th meeting. Apparently, we're going to get the Beach Corridor proposal as well on the October 6th meeting. So let's see how all of those go. And the BERT, the Bus Express Rapid Transit, that is a critical thing. If we can get people to ride that bus from Homestead on the Turnpike, and then they can go all the way to Doral, because that's part of the connectivity to go to Doral, that'll be a miracle too. So there's really quite a lot in the works. As well, I should say, an express bus across the Julia Tuttle, which is especially important for the employees at the hotels. And, we've been very frustrated that FDOT is doing that, and they've got like a 2-year horizon, like not acceptable. It's just a bus. So let's see what we can do. I mean, I'm all about accelerate, get these things done and do everything in our power. We also finally, this is a long answer, the bus routes. So the Better Bus Project, they spent, over a year. They did a fantastic job. They came up with a whole realignment, more frequency on the most popular routes, not sacrificing the less popular, but people that really need it routes. Then the pandemic came. So they're going to come forward with a kind of a revised version, but it will really improve the bus service. And so many are dependent upon the buses. And, it's all about our workforce. A lot of people are transit dependent. So we need to get people who are, that are choice riders. They're going to give up their car because it's less desirable. We have to get them, and we have to help those who are transit dependent.
All right. My next question is about the permitting process. What are your thoughts on streamlining the permitting process to eliminate delays, the inefficiencies that cost the small business owner time and money?
Well, I already mentioned some of expediting permitting. I think especially in a downturn economy, when jobs are so on the line, like today we just had a zoning hearing that went from 9:30 until like after 6, and it came up several times about the importance of creating jobs quickly. So, we're going to need to maybe revisit things sort of in the short term to jumpstart. It's been proposed like having all the different agencies in one place and everybody come in under the tent, but also streamlining online processes, which the county has moved forward with quite a bit, but we need to expand that. So that helps to reduce time. But we have to bring in those outlier departments that sometimes gum up the works or are last minute, or, we have to look at where are the gaps. And back to my efficiency engineer, she's going to help me. She's going to help me do that. So what else can we do? I mean, there may be some situations where the industries may want to pay for some expediters. I know we do that already in certain regards. the telecommunications people, they pay for their people so they can get their things through quickly. You know, I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I think it's worth having a conversation to see if that can, basically hiring consultants to move things along.
You know what? My next question is going to lead us to environmental, and that is protecting and restoring Florida's unique habitat, the Everglades, while providing more of a housing stock to reduce or stabilize housing cost is obviously a careful balancing act. What is your position on moving the urban development line?
Well, I'm pretty staunchly in favor of protecting our open spaces, partly because agriculture is still our #2 industry officially.
Okay.
You know, it still is. And I have spent a lot of time in the last 6 years learning about agriculture, fighting to protect agriculture. And we're at a tipping point. If we lose agricultural land, we will not be able to sustain an agricultural industry. So that part gets overlooked in a lot of the pressure on building housing. And, you know, our CDMP shows us that we have adequate space for the next, whatever it is, 15 to 20 years before we really need to add more space. I know right now it's popular again to live in the suburbs or the country because people don't want to live in high rises and push the elevator buttons and things like that. But, you know, we will get over this soon, and in-town living will be popular once again. So, by the way, one of the solutions I didn't mention earlier is like granny flats, like accessory dwelling units. I think there's huge potential there. You know, we have to look at the zoning codes and change them so that, you know, if you have a piece of property and you want to build a small unit, why not? You know, there's land. So I think that could be, and, you know, people would like to make some money, you know, subsidize their costs. Lord knows we have a lot of them that are illegal. So why couldn't we have a bunch of them that are actually legal and permitted and, you know, appropriately built? So, so I'm not ready to be moving the urban development boundary line. I know people, it's frustrating to people because they might be, you know, just a block away, and there's, you know, it's very frustrating because it is a fairly arbitrary line, but it's a line that allows us to protect and preserve agriculture, which is also a buffer to the Everglades, which is a buffer for our environmental protection, to protect our well fields and the aquifer. So there's a lot that goes into it. And we did just have a major, like, 2-year process coming up with, you know, not being necessary to move the line in the immediate future. So that's where I do stand on that.
All right. My next question is linked to economic expansion. What are your plans to incentivize out-of-state corporations to move to central rurals or less densely populated areas, thereby spending economic growth, promoting new housing, retail development, tourist attraction, and biking and walkability in mind? I know that was a long question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure because first of all, they're coming, right? So we're doing at least right now, and you'll have to tell me, you know, what you're doing to capitalize on it. But I know there's a lot of corporate movement, you know, a lot of businesses moving. So explain to me again, what is the question? How they incentivize them?
Yeah, what are your plans to incentivize out-of-state corporations to move to central rural or less densely populated areas?
Why would we want them to move to less densely populated areas?
So they can increase the spending, the economic growth, the promoting of new housing, retail, and tourist attractions to those areas?
Well, you know, like, they're coming from New York City, they're already used to living in density. So I'm just saying there's that. I don't know what the market is. You know, I understand that I was told only like a 3-month supply right now of housing, you know, which usually we want a 6-month supply. So I know the demand is great. I know the demand is great. You know, you know, you tell me, as far as incentives, you know, they have tax incentives, right? Because Florida is good for businesses from a tax perspective. I think we're only one of 7 states without an income tax. So that already is attractive. You know, and our corporate tax is very low. So, you know, we already have some good incentives. If you can tell me that there's a need for more incentives, then, you know, certainly we could look at it. But look, we're going to be facing a downturn. Let's be very real about this. I mean, how are we going to maintain our level of service when you know, many are, if they are defaulting on their mortgages, if they aren't going to be able to pay next year's property taxes, you know, if our sales tax revenue is down. I mean, we're going to have some real, so I'm interested in hearing about it. So tell me.
So let me tell you, I love the fact that you said, I'm collaborating. I want to know, talk to me. And I think that's what we're looking for. Somebody that has an open ear and that's looking for possibilities. My next question goes right back to environmental, and it's my last question. So after I ask it, and you give me the answer, if you can just continue with your closing statement. But Biscayne Bay has gotten a lot of attention lately. What do you propose to protect the bay and other waterways, lakes from further degradation?
Yeah, so I've given myself a lot of names since I've come on the commission. I told you collaboration is my middle name, but I'm also the water warrior, okay? So I have been working feverishly for 6 years to protect our environment and particularly our water. I've prevented increased issuance of pollutants into our water. At the state level, they changed a rule that was not going to be good for us. I've doubled down on the water and sewer repairs that are needed and are mandated by federal law, and made sure that they moved more expeditiously and that we identified the most vulnerable places, because we kept spewing sewage into the bay and into the ocean, and beaches closing, and you know, so on. Oh my goodness. I asked for, I sponsored the Biscayne Bay Health of the Bay Summit, the first one, out of which came a Biscayne Bay report card, which is now 2 years overdue. I sponsored the follow-up to the septic system report to say, tell us which are the most vulnerable spots so we can double down and start immediately. We've just been told that water and sewer is loosening their rules, and they're going to start using some of their future services fund for the laterals. So if there's a main water line, they can do the laterals, which will help reduce the price for homeowners to go convert from septic to sewer. There's about 300 homes that are ready to go if we can move that forward expeditiously. So, you know, I've gotten, I was going to say into the weeds, but I have gotten into the plumbing on this, on water and sewer. I knew nothing about this subject when I came into office, but you know, it's septic, it's sewer, and it's nutrients. So I'm bringing a fertilizer ordinance on October 6th agenda to prevent fertilizer use in the rainy season, because it is a major source of the high nutrients, which is what's killing the seagrass and killing the bay. What was the question? What am I going to do about the bay? I'm going to do everything in my power. Right. And I'm so frustrated that it took so long for this administration to pay attention to this issue. And it took those tens of thousands, if not more, fishes to die for the world to wake up to something that I've been screaming about. So, okay, right. If I could, to close up. Okay, I missed a few points here. I didn't get to tell you about how important the North Corridor could be to connecting to Broward, and that I'm the regional thinker, the person that chairs the South Florida Regional Planning Council. And our next joint meeting with the next Regional Planning Council, which goes all the way to Martin County, is going to be about the economic impacts of COVID on all of us and our budgetary planning. But we've looked at environmental issues, coral reefs, transportation, education, all of those regional things that I know as mayor, I will be the regional unifier. I will be the bridge builder, so that we will not have one COVID policy in one city, one COVID policy in the neighboring county. We will work together, and we will work with our delegation to bring home the bacon, so to speak, because we have not been very effective at getting our state delegation to work for us. I know you know that because you lobby too. And again, if we put our power together with Broward, together with Palm Beach and Monroe, oh my God, we could take over the state. So that is my plan. Also, I did not mention that transportation is key. I said to the workforce, but one of the areas least served is West-Dade. And I know you all, that's one of the areas where you're continuing to develop. Just had the conversation with Eileen Bouclé of the Transportation Planning Organization. Where is the proposal for Kendall Drive? It's not my district, but I have been harping and harping and harping on it. There is only one solution, which is a reversible lane in the middle of the street, because we cannot sacrifice a lane of traffic. She tells me it's going to be December or January till this proposal comes in, which is me hair on fire. So we have to have that, and that will stimulate responsible growth and help us tremendously with congestion and access for our workforce. There are many, many other things I'd like to talk to you about, but I'll just wrap it up with this. I am here to make a difference. You know, I have 2 grandchildren. They live in DC. Okay. I'm retired. I need nothing from any special interest. I am here for the people, for the community. And what is best about me is that I am very good at listening and learning. And that means working with the business community. That means making sure that our real estate continues to be highly valued, highly prized, and that, you know, I work with you to get things right. The fact that you are focused not only on high end, but all ends just goes to show what an enlightened group you are. And I salute you. I'm excited to work with you. I'm ready, willing, and able to learn. And I do hope you will support me to be your next county mayor. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Commissioner. Danielle, we made it.
George, I know, I can't believe it.
We
Thank
made
you,
it.
Commissioner Levine, Cava. We really appreciate your time and joining
Very
us.
good. Okay, very good. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
So Danielle, what do you think? Pretty good, huh?
I took a lot of notes.
You know what? I want to end it with this. And I actually copied this and I wrote it down by hand because I thought it was very powerful. And I wrote it at the beginning of my chairmanship. And I think it's relevant to close today. And it's actually the speech that Mo VC wrote. And I think it's very, very powerful and more powerful today. And owning a home embodies the promise of a financial independence and the inspiration of most American households. Home ownership allows the household to accumulate wealth, social status, and it's the basis of a number of positive social and economic, family, and civil outcomes. 2/3 of our US households who own a home are currently enjoying these benefits today. The positive and social benefits of homeownership are compelling. There's evidence from numerous studies that attest that homeownership boosts educational performance in children. It induces higher participation in civic and volunteering activities, improves healthcare outcomes, lowers crime rates, and lessens welfare dependency. Owning a home is different from renting. When a home is purchased, it comes with the pride of ownership, the sense of belonging to a community where one has a financial stake in the neighborhood. Perhaps homeowners are happier just because they've achieved the so-called American dream, a sense of accomplishment, a milestone. Also, homeownership entails greater individual responsibility. Homeownership requires a large, if not the largest financial outlay of a person's life and requires that responsibility of a mortgage spanning 30 years. Therefore, this is a long-term commitment which may alter human behavior. Given such an opportunity, public policy makers, I repeat that, public policy makers would be wise to consider the immense social benefits of homeownership for families, their district, local communities, and the nation. I want to give props to Mo VC for that speech. I think it was pointed, it is perfect, and it embodies who and what we are. Danielle, I want to thank you, Anna Maria, Linda, the Miami Realtors for all your hard work putting this together. I know emails from 9 in the morning till midnight to put this and to make this as successful as it is. As the chairman and as a member of the Miami Association, I thank you guys for all your hard work and putting this together. Danielle, any final or closing thoughts?
No, we're going to keep these questions that are in the chat here. We have some leaders sending it in now. I just want to let you guys know, we solicited in advance and put those 10 best questions together with the time that we had committed to them. So we'll keep these on file and keep working on these issues. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.